Hello folks and welcome to another edition of Cycle Chat here on my channel. I've got somebody with me from the US this evening. I hope you're going to enjoy what he has to say. He's going to tell me all about his channel. It'll be interesting to see and hear what he has to say because I'm not overly familiar with his channel. So let's enjoy this together. So let's say good evening or rather afternoon to this week's guest, which is Bruce. How are you, Bruce? How are you doing?
Doing good. Doing good.
Excellent. Can we start things off by introducing yourself and your channel and what is it? What's it all about?
Basically, it's a cycling channel, but focuses a lot on kind of do-it-yourself repairs, modifications, hacks, you could even say. That's kind of the primary focus. I even released a video today on a cheap Walmart bike that I've been working on. And then secondarily, I usually take those poorly made bicycles and do some rides with them and just kind of to prove them out, and then obviously film and document that process. So that's what it's about. I have a GoPro Hero 8 Black, which I usually put on my chest mount. I also sometimes carry my DSLR around if I put it in my backpack or something like that.
Yeah.
Use my phone a lot also. Yeah, sure. Yeah. I try to capture as much as I can and then edit it in some coherent way as much as possible, you know. The story part is the hardest for me. I'm not really much of a storyteller. I would like to be, but yeah, that's the cool thing about YouTube, I think, and well, video making in general is, at least for me, I'm not very good at it. So there's a lot of growth potential, you know, like I can see some channels where people are like super good at telling a story, and I'm like, I would like to do that. So I have a lot to learn.
So how did you first gain an interest in riding bikes then, Bruce?
Well, you know, as most kids, I rode a bike a lot as a kid, and I wanted to do BMX when I was a kid, but I never was like brave enough to do it, you know, really well. And then, so once I turned 16, which down here in Florida in the US, when you're 16, you can get a proper driver's license, a full driver's license for a car. And then I just forgot about riding my bike. So I was about 29. We moved to Europe. We moved to Switzerland, my wife and I, and a lot of people were cycling there. And then I got into it. You know, it was like infectious. Everybody in my office was doing some sport, either running, hiking, cycling, mountaineering, whatever. So then I got into it when I was 29. I'm 39 next month. So I guess I didn't really get started when I was 29. It took me a couple of years. Like I bought a bike, but it was just to get to work and back.
Yeah.
I mean, that counts, but I wasn't really too much into the sport of it until a few years later.
A lot of your videos now are about repairing bikes and hacking them and stuff like that. So that obviously came a few years later.
I mean, I was already working on bikes when I was a teenager. I wanted a BMX bike. I didn't know, and it's still kind of like today. I'm not that great of a rider or an athlete by any sense, but I always wanted to, like, I always thought, okay, well, I need to get a bike first. So when I was a kid, when I was like 13, I think I remember in particularly, I told my dad I wanted a BMX bike, and he didn't, you know, he's like, we don't have enough money for that, blah, blah, blah. So, but he's also, he was an auto mechanic when I was a kid. He had a garage full of tools. So we actually pulled some frames off of a trash pile and different parts and just kind of built some BMX bikes together. And that's when I learned how to do basic bike maintenance, I guess, repair. And then, yeah, so when I got my first mountain bike as an adult in 2014, obviously it needed some work. It was already, not 20 years old, but going on 20, pretty close. So yeah, then I just started working on them more and more.
So what is your favorite part about bikes then? Is it the riding, or is it hacking them and things like that?
That's a good question.
What?
Ultimately riding, I would say. Yeah, I really like going on an adventure, especially if it's like somewhere I haven't been, like over a mountain or something like that. I did ride across Switzerland once from Geneva to Romanshorn. That was around, I want to say 450 kilometers, and it took me like 3 or 4 days. I think 4 days actually. That was like that was a really great adventure. It was totally safe because in Switzerland they have like a great network for cycling, like bike highways, like routes, like I think it was Route 5 to Route 1 or something like that. And I just followed the signs, and it was super safe, and like it's like nobody's gonna mess with you. There's like no danger. But for me, it was an adventure because I never did anything like that before. So like just being out on my own, and I didn't pre-book anything. So at night I had to figure out where I was going to sleep and figure that stuff out. And it sounds simple, like but it was like really, I don't know, like a life experience to have to figure that out on the fly, even though it was like also totally safe. Like I could book a hotel at any moment. I could call my wife at any moment. I could like grab a train probably. I wasn't really in any kind of danger or any kind of wilderness like some people, you know. If I just hopped on the train to Geneva with my bicycle, and um, that was actually that 1997 giant ATX 840,
Yeah.
and I kind of made my own saddlebags just out of some, I don't know, some bags I had randomly. Put my backpack on the back rack
Yeah.
and just rode it like that. Yeah.
From briefly looking at your channel and all the videos are listed along the screen, it looks like that's what a lot of your content is taking things and making them into something else, or repairing something.
Yeah.
Bike conversions and building bikes and things like that.
I don't know why I'm attracted to that, because it's not really that I can't afford things. Like I have a good job and stuff, so it's just, I don't know, it's just like what I like to do. I'm also like really stingy, so I'm like, I'm not going to spend, you know, a lot of money on this and that, and it kind of like leads to the adventure too. I think you learn a lot about how things work and how things don't work. I was doing mountain biking at the beginning, started off with that, and did quite a bit of mountain biking, and I thought I was going to be like a great cross-country mountain biker, and I even entered a cross-country race. Uh, a couple, actually, I think I've done like a handful of, I don't know, it depends on what you call them. One of them was more, the one is called the Girton Classic. I did that 3 times, is a mountain bike race. Then they changed it to a road bike race. I did that. And those, the mountain bike ones were 16.7 kilometers, and it was racing up to the top of this, this little mountain, like a really small mountain, probably 800 meters of climbing or something like that, but only over 16 kilometers is a lot of steep sections.
Yes, yeah.
And yeah, that's really fun. I really enjoyed that, and I like the training aspect, but I will say that I'm not good at it. Like I always finished like in the lower third, I guess. So I really liked that. But then then I did an actual like cross country mountain bike race where there was like really fast people and just got totally smoked. Like I was the slowest person on the field, no question. And then I realized I wasn't that skilled at bikes, and I wasn't disciplined enough to exercise and train and like do all that stuff. So then I started getting more into like, I don't know, just kind of adventure cycling, just going off into the mountains for fun and whatever. And then I got a road bike. I have right now a 1987 Schwinn Tour, which is a old steel bike, and I've kind of modernized it a little bit. And that's like my best road bike right now, and I like to ride that.
I think competing against yourself and going on adventures and things like that, it's just more fun.
Yeah, I do like racing with other people and stuff, but it's just not like that big of it. I do have a race coming up on January 10th. It's a gravel race.
Is that on the bike?
Yeah. Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
This video, I'm going to be converting my humble Kent Ridgeland bike into a gravel racer.
That bike you can get any old Walmart pretty much for $98. It's a steel frame, high tensile, frame, junk frame. You can get that bike, and it'll come with ugly tires, like bright one, like the front are like bright yellow, and then like the back are blue or green or something really stupid. It looks horrible. It looks like the worst bike in the world. And even the grips are like green. It just looks so bad. But at the core of it, even though it's heavy, it's an okay bike. Like it's a steel frame, and you could do. It's the single speed, by the way. So
yeah,
you can do a lot with it. And I've changed pretty much everything except for the wheels. It has the original wheels, original fork, original stem. But I've changed out the crank, bottom bracket, handlebars now. Have some road levers. And tires, of course, because his tires were horrible.
So now it's a gravel bike, yeah?
Yeah, now it's a gravel bike. Yeah, that's the bike. It's really heavy, 12.7 kilograms. That's 28 pounds.
Have you done gravel racing before then?
I did. I'm always confused if I want to call something a race or not, but in Germany, around Stuttgart, I did I want to say it was like 70-kilometer gravel race. I think it was a race. We had a number and it was timed, so to me, if it's timed and you're ordered with other people, then it's basically a race. And so I did that like 2 years ago or something like that, but I used my mountain bike, and I actually got a hold of a Thomas Tomcat from 2012, which is pretty nice. It's carbon fiber hardtail mountain bike, hydraulic discs, air fork, and I did that race with the mountain bike, and it was a good idea too because it was a super like rough gravel ride slash race, whatever you call it. And like a lot of the people were complaining. They're like, this isn't a gravel race. This is a mountain bike race. This is way too rough. And it was true. I was totally glad the whole time that I had my
prepared.
actual mountain bike. Yeah.
This race in Fort Lauderdale, how capable do you think it's going to be?
I might drop a chain or two because it is a single, it's, you know, the chainring is designed as a single speed, but it's more probably made for road. So I wouldn't be surprised if I drop a chain along the way here or there. Otherwise, I think it'll be fine.
I don't know if this is a British expression, but are you familiar with bonking?
Yeah, I know about it, but I've never had it happen to me really. I think it's usually, what is that, like when you don't eat enough or don't fuel? Yeah. A lot of times I don't eat before I ride anyway, so I might be used to that. It's not totally true. There was a mountain by my house in Switzerland that was only about 20 minutes. It would take me like an hour and a half to reach the top. Now that was pretty intense.
What would you say was your most sort of challenging ride then?
A good friend of mine, he and I would every year for a while do a bike and hike, and it was always the same route. And it was in Switzerland in the Canderfren Valley. So this is like a valley in the Big Alps, and we would park the car somewhere randomly in the valley, and then ride as far as we could into the valley, as deep as we could. And then at first it was just a street, you know, because that's where cars were going up the switchbacks, up the valley. And then eventually it would get to like gravel, and eventually we'd get to hiking trails. And then we put the bikes on our backs and carry them as far as it made sense until we were just exhausted. And we eventually stashed the bikes in the woods somewhere with a lock. Several times we forgot. I remember one time we were annoyed because we forgot the lock. And the funny thing is we were like, okay. So we like hiked way up into the side of the brush, like dangerous, like way up here to like hide the bikes behind some trees. And then we did the hike, and then we left the bikes and continued hiking. And the goal of this one is to reach a glacier head, like the head of the glacier, and just like see the nice view, you know. I think that's around 2,500 meters, and super nice, super beautiful. But the last time we did it like 4 or 5 times. The last time we did it was really challenging because there had been a landslide sometime before recently, and it cut the trail that we normally would take. We got lost a little bit or something. It's hard to describe. It's such a huge, I don't know if you've been in these environments, but it's so big. Like you look at it on Google Maps and you think, okay, that's not that big. Like you can just walk around here, no problem. But when you're on the ground, it's difficult, and you don't have cell reception. It's difficult to understand like what path to take. And I ended up going like in a really dangerous place. It looked safe, but then when I got there, I was cursing at myself. I'm like, what are you doing here? Like there's these huge boulders just like, you know, like right all over the place. They look like they could fall. And I was super exhausted. I'd fallen down like hiking a few times. I was really annoyed. That was like testing my patience. But the funny thing is, my friend had the lock in his backpack the whole time. He just didn't find it properly at the beginning. So his backpack the whole time. So he carried all this weight up the freaking mountain, and the bikes weren't secure. We took a chance up there. These type of things always happen. Every time me and him get together and like try to do some kind of ride or adventure, like these goofy mishaps always happen. So it's kind of the fun of it when you look back at it.
Wasn't there an adventure? I was watching a video not too long ago, and you went down to the Florida Keys.
That was with my friend Jose. He was doing a charity ride, basically raising money for children's cancer research. And I saw that he had the same Kent Ridgeland as me, this Walmart bike. And so I started chatting with him. I'm like, hey, what bike is that?
And what I'm doing is I'm meeting my friend Jose. We're going to ride from his house all the way down to Key West on my Walmart bike. And I'm nervous about the whole thing. Anyway, come along with me and we'll see what happens.
I don't even remember how far it was. We made it a 3-day journey, I think. And that was not too bad, actually. Physically, I was totally fine on that one. My friend there, he got pretty sick, though, with some stomach problems.
You get caught in the rain as well a couple of times.
We got caught in the rain, yeah.
So if we can talk about your channel a little bit then, Bruce.
Sure.
How did it come about then? And you know, why did you start sort of sharing your videos or your life on YouTube?
Yeah, sure. I always say I've learned more on YouTube than I did in college or anything. You know what, everybody knows if you need something, you look it up. And
Yeah.
There's always plenty of information. So I've always appreciated it. And then back in 2015, I was getting into like woodworking actually, and I was following all the woodworking channels and like woodworking channel creation, like being a woodworking video person was like exploding. So I jumped on with that and had a little bit of success, I guess. I still like woodworking, but I don't know. I guess I lost some enthusiasm for it, and so about the same time I was really getting more into cycling. So I kind of flipped the format on the channel from woodworking to cycling, and that was not. I mean, it wasn't an exact date. Like there's a period in my channel which is pretty large where I'm doing woodworking one video and then doing a biking ride another video. But it hasn't been that long that I've actually been purely cycling. I think it's been just like 2 years or something like that since it's been. Like if I look back at my last video that's cycling only and on, it's only been a couple years. But what got me interested in doing like cycling, it's hard to explain. First of all, I like cycling. I like working in my shop. So, well, one thing I remember when I was doing woodworking stuff is one guy was like challenging viewers to make their own videos. He said something like, he said it in like a mean way, but I didn't take it like that. He was like, you guys are being selfish if you're not sharing your knowledge. Like you're building cool things in your garage and nobody knows about it. So why not just pick up a camera and share that? And so I guess that stuck with me a little bit, that I'm still remembering it today. And I kind of thought about that too. I'm like, well, I'm doing this stuff anyway. So, and that's actually like how my channel is in general. I don't too much, that's not totally true, but I don't too much go out of my way to do like top 5 winter cycling tips or something like that. It's more, what am I already wanting to do? And then I'll just show everybody what I'm working on, whether it's working on bikes or doing a race or something like that. It's not totally true because like the encouragement from the people who watch and just like getting ideas from other channels, then I'll do things that I like. For example, I saw you had Katie on an episode or 2 ago.
Yeah.
She invited people to any fans to go to Mallorca. I think it was last year. It's crazy because it seems like a lifetime ago, because I was way before COVID. It was actually 2019 though. She invited the fans to go, and so I met her in Mallorca, and it was an awesome time, a great ride. And Mallorca is to me the best place to ride in the world probably. It's super nice, like mountains and weather and cyclists everywhere. But anyway, that I was motivated by YouTube to take action and do something I never would have done, and I created a video on that, and I would never have created that video. So it's not like I'm just in my own bubble just showing what I'm doing totally, but it's kind of that feeling. And basically, to answer your question is, I don't know, I like recording videos. I like I don't want to like be too overly dramatic, but like artistic process. Like I like to make my own videos and see how they come out, see how they look. And now I make a few bucks off it, not a lot, but you know, it's like now it's a self-sustaining hobby in terms of the finances. So like the money I get from YouTube revenue, I can buy some junk bike, and then, you know.
Talk about the sort of journey from sort of day one to where you are now.
Certainly I've learned a lot. I've always used the same software. So that's Kdenlive. That's a Linux. Well, I think they have it for Windows too, but I'm a big open source software fan. I work in IT professionally. That's my job. I don't even come up with, like, the ideas are just kind of random. I'm just thinking like, oh, I want to do this race. So like, I also have this cheap bike. Let's see if I can do it with, it's like, I guess it's like a challenge. Like, I'm like, oh, what kind of challenge can I do?
Yeah.
And I tend to meet people, you know, in real life. Like I have a friend, Jeff, who's pretty recently gotten into cycling. He's wanting to ride across the state like I did. I don't think I'm going to join him the whole way because I already did it and I have some other things going on, but I'm going to join him on the first day, and I'll record that and make a video of that, like seeing him off on the first 100-mile day. It's just kind of random. It's like, and honestly, like this is the first time, maybe a few months ago, I think you saw it on the Facebook group, that I've actually started writing down. Maybe you saw it, maybe you didn't. I put a post in there where I wrote down my like next 7 video ideas. I've never done that before. I've just kind of as they come, and that sometimes meant like a month or even more of no video, and then just in like 2 weeks I've done like 4 videos. But ultimately, I just like to share what I'm doing. And sometimes, well, I have a 3-year-old daughter, so like when she was born, I wasn't really doing much cycling, so there wasn't really much to show.
Of your many sort of bike builds and conversions and things like that, then what would you would say, in terms of putting out there and sharing as a video, what would you say is your kind of favorite sort of project you've worked on?
I would say that my favorite is probably my most famous video on the channel. It's got like over 400,000 views.
I've had this mountain bike almost exactly 5 years now. This was the bike that got me back into cycling as an adult. And it's been a really good bike for me. I've been a lot of places with this bike, but at this point, it really wasn't being used anymore. So I didn't really want to get rid of it, although I did try. Nobody wants it.
And what that means is put drop bars on it, put road tires on it, which, you know, is a totally different wheel size from a 26 mountain bike to a 700C road bike rim, different fork, basically everything. Basically, I had a junk road bike that actually had I guess it didn't have a removable derailleur hanger. It was like an alloy bike, and it was fixed, and that was like totally busted off. So the frame was, I think, for all intents and purposes, ruined. And a friend of mine gave me that bike, and I used all the parts off it, plus some others. But it worked out really pretty well. Like, it was not a perfect bike, but I did take it. I took that one to Mallorca. I was able to ride with the group, no problem. We had an after work. When I worked in an office over in Switzerland, now I work in my home office. We had an after work cycling group, road cycling group, and I'd always take that bike. And because it was actually I don't remember where I got the crank set, but it was a 3x. So it had like mountain bike gears, and the front one was is 24, right? Yeah, I think it was a 24 cog in the front ring on the small one. And then I had like a 34 in the back, or 36 or something. So I could go up like anything, like, you know, any grade was possible, which was really cool. You know, and in Switzerland, actually in the Jura, like the Jura is the smaller mountain range. It goes through Switzerland and France. And even though it's smaller, it actually has more steep climbs, short but steep climbs than the big Alps typically will. So some of them were just in unbelievably steep corkscrews, and it was really cool to be able to take that bike, put it in the lowest gear possible, and like, you're going so slow, it's like less than walking speed. It's almost like a hike or something at that point. But so it's like a balance just to stay on the bike. That was definitely probably my like, it was a really cool build, but it was also pretty hacky. I brought that bike back to the US though, at least the frame. We moved back to the US right in the middle of COVID, like in March or something. So that was a crazy time to move back, but I brought the frame with me, so I might build it up again someday or do something with it. You know, like, that video is really popular, but there's also quite a lot of criticism too, like, you know, maybe rightfully so, from some like proper bike builders and stuff. They're like, oh my God, that is so dangerous. You shouldn't even post that type of thing. You're going to kill somebody. So I did take that to heart a little bit, because you know, I couldn't imagine if somebody did that and actually did get hurt, how bad I would feel. So I did put like a disclaimer right at the top of the description with like a bunch of like asterisks and different symbols. I'm like,
it's at home.
yeah, like, hack your bikes at your own risk. This is extremely dangerous. I do dumb stuff sometimes. Like, I never had problems with it. Like, I was bombing down all kinds of super sketchy stuff. I even took it off road, because before I had a gravel bike, I was using my road bike. I don't have a gravel bike, but I've done a lot of gravel biking on my road bike with 23 and 25 millimeter tires, and just, you know, jumping off, let's say, like, you know, 10 centimeter drops and stuff like that. You know, it's just stuff, and it never broke or anything, so I guess it's okay.
But it sounds pretty amazing. I'm a sort of person that rides them. I wish I knew a bit more about building bikes and things like that.
I don't know if I would suggest it, really. If you're happy doing what you're doing, and you know, and you don't have a whole garage of junk, maybe that's a better way to go.
Can you tell us, Bruce, what you got coming up in your channel next year? Is any sort of holidays you're hoping to go on? Or
next year, we're going to Colorado, hopefully, planning to, for about 3 months, I'm thinking. And I've never been out west. I've never been like anywhere outside of Florida, basically. We're planning to spend a few months there, and I'm going to bring one bicycle. That's all I can bring. So that Japanese bike I mentioned, hopefully will be my one bike that I bring. Definitely do a lot of riding there, because we're only going to be there 3 months. So I'm going to try to go crazy and like hit all the mountains, all the gravel trails. I'm going to do everything I can. Really enjoy it, especially the mountains, because out here in Florida, it's pan flat. There's nothing, absolutely nothing to climb. Like bridges, that's it. You can find a bridge and that's it. So I'm really looking forward to getting back, gaining some elevation. Like, I like that. That was my favorite part. It's crazy too, because when I first started riding, again, my friend Ollie, I might have mentioned, he told me, oh, we got to go up this mountain to ride together. He's been cycling for a long time. I was like, no, man, I'm not gonna be that type of rider that goes up things. I'll just take the cable car with the bike and then be like a downhiller guy or something. I don't know, I didn't know what I was talking about. If you've never rode a bike before, hardly, and you jump on and try to go up a mountain, it's horrible. Like, you just can't do it. It's everything. Yeah. It's like, I don't know. Like, I was horrible. Like, we went on a ride. I remember after work, a mountain bike group we also had, and I was the last person getting up just to like the starting area, like, of the mountain. So it was horrible. And but then eventually over time, I actually liked it. And it was my favorite. Like, it was funny. It's ironic. It turned into my favorite part of riding, actually, was going up the mountains. Even the down part wasn't really fun anymore. It was just a challenge to get up and over.
I guess when it comes to 2021, because because of COVID, lots of people have been not really, just riding locally and not really going on holiday much. It's like, what do you think when things get back to normal, sort of thing? It's gonna be amazing next year, I think.
Have you ever heard of the Epic Gravel or something? They do it in Morocco and a few other places. This is what I would love to do. They're supposed to be doing it in 2021. I was in Morocco once, and I remember I wasn't cycling at the time because I wasn't into cycling. I was just on vacation, and I just remember it being like amazingly beautiful. We went over the Atlas Mountains on a hired van, and that would be so cool to do a ride. Actually, it's a race. So I don't know if the stars aligned right and stuff, maybe I could do that next year or the year after. That would be awesome.
So finally, Bruce, I've got one more question. Probably know what the question is already, so I've got to be careful how I frame it, because it sounds like you may possibly have lots of bikes, but how many bikes do you own? Ones you ride often, sort of thing.
It's so many. I have too many. I have way too many. I have my Schwindley Tour. I have my mountain bike. Let's start with road bike. Schwindley Tour. I have the new Japanese bike. Well, let's go to the gravel bike. I have the Kent Ridgeland. I think that's all for drop bars. For like commuting type things, I have a Detroit bike Sparrow. I have a Detroit E-Sparrow. I have a Trek, I don't know what it is, 2700. My dad gave it to me. It's just like a little commuter bike. It's a mountain bike, I guess, but it has the step over frame. Yeah. So we just use that for buzzing around. And I have, God, it's embarrassing. I don't even know the name of this one, but I think it's called Townie or something, but it's a step through frame, 3-speed internal hub thing. We have the child seat on the back of, so like one of those. I have a mountain bike. That's that is a Tomcat. I think that might be it. I'm probably forgetting somebody in there, but yeah, I could say 8 or 9 maybe. Really trying to reduce. I would like to have like 4 would be great, because it's an overhead. I remember I listened to the interview with Katie, and she said like she wants less, I think, or something like that, and that's pretty smart, because then you're not just like wasting time maintaining, fixing tires, just stupid stuff like that.
Do you use turbo or anything like that?
I did when I was in Switzerland. I was on Zwift. I enjoyed it a lot, because over there, a lot of the season is pretty uncomfortable for riding.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed Zwift. I never got to complete Alp to Zwift. Is that what it's called? I never got a high enough level. I don't remember what it was, but I was very close, but I didn't quite do it. I did do Alp d'Huez, the actual one. I did the actual one while I was there, and I wanted to do both to compare them. Yeah. But I did it, and I liked it a lot. But the thing is here in Florida, like, I rode last night around my block. I live in just like a boring, right now I'm renting a house, and it's just a super boring, what do they call it, suburb, like cookie cutter suburb. And but it's not bad for like road riding in a way. It's not ideal. Like, it's not as good as it was back when I was in Europe. But so I was just doing like a lot of fast loops last night, and it was, I don't know, 20 degrees Celsius. So it was totally good temperature. And I was thinking, like, while I was riding, I was thinking, why should I bother with Zwift when I can just step outside and do this pretty much all year round? It's probably more fun and anyway, and obviously I don't have to buy all the equipment again.
If you're from Northern Europe, like I am, and that's my view as well. As soon as November, December, January, February, March, all those will be indoors, because it's
totally, it makes total sense. But yeah, I love Zwift. I'm not going to do it now because it just doesn't make sense down here in Florida. But I'm I'm a big fan actually of it.
If I lived in Florida, or if I moved to Florida, I'd be out every day.
Yeah, I should go out more. I'm gonna start doing it at night. Like last night, that was a lot of fun, and I was just—it's only 1 kilometer. It's almost ridiculous. It's a 1 kilometer circle here, but it was engaging, and like I'm gonna do it more. And the temperature was perfect. I didn't see a car the whole time. I didn't see anybody the whole time, and yeah, and it's at night too, so I don't think nobody knows who I am. Like if I wouldn't do that during the day, the neighbors would probably think I'm crazy coming around every 2 minutes for like an hour or 30 minutes.
That's the good thing about cycling, though, isn't it? It's about just forgetting about things, what's been going on in your head, and just relaxing. It's a good way of getting away from things, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
It's been brilliant having you on the show. A lot of people on the
thanks.
channel have been like, people who just like ride bikes. They don't necessarily build bikes. Speak to somebody else differently on the show, so that's all good. So
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. So folks, I'll see you in the new year, and hope you've had a good Christmas, and we'll catch up again soon. See you later. For me and Bruce, goodbye.